All right, hello. We will call to order at 5:32 p.m. Melissa, will you do roll call, please?
Yes. Do we have Brad Lefkowitz?
Here.
Linda Schneider?
Here.
Tony Gurno?
Here.
Matt Pablumo? Absent. Mark Jenny?
Here.
Matt Altman? Absent. Mim Michael Love?
Here.
All right, great. Thank you. Let's, if you're able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, thank you. So the first order of business here is oral communications. I believe we have at least one white card, is that right?
We do. Can we have Stephen Lord come up, please?
We take a look at apple and cherry trees, things that are insect pollinated, because insect pollinated trees have flowers and a very heavy, thick pollen that doesn't cause allergenic reactions for most people because it doesn't spread very far. So I'd like to bring to people's attention that when you're making these choices of trees, there's other things to bear in mind besides maintenance and water consumption and that kind of thing. And I do recognize that fruit trees, generate fruit, and someone has to clean that up or deal with it. The other point I'd like to make is that as you make these selections, so you pay attention to fire-prone issues. I mean, we don't want Encinitas to burn like Pacific Palisades, and that was essentially an urban forest fire to all intents and purposes. So I just wanted to bring to your attention these two issues that a little maybe different from what you're normally thinking about in terms of traditional trees for the area, like pine trees. Like Torrey pines, for example, are pretty flammable things. Most native plants of this area are designed to burn. I mean, that's the ecology. We don't really want to be planting them, even though it might be desirable for many other reasons, if we're going to create a fire hazard. And so if you would take a look at tree pollen production and focus maybe, I think it would be pretty to have apple and cherry trees. I don't see why not. And one last thing to throw out there is we have a sister town in Japan. I'm sure they'd be happy to send us some cherry trees and we could plant them here and have a good ceremony. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. All right, would anybody like to propose any changes to the agenda?
Yes. So we do have UFAC items 6B and 6C will be moved and considered with item number 7D, review 2025 work plan.
Oh, okay. That works. That will get us to our Arbor Day presentation sooner as well. Anybody else have any changes to the agenda? All right, so then we'll move on to approval of the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review them? We'll entertain a motion for approval.
I move that we approve the minutes.
I'll second.
All right, so we can take a vote on that, please. All right, so that passes. So that passes 4-0 with Linda abstaining. That takes us on to 6A then, correct?
That's correct.
Rob, is that you?
Yes. So this is a just quick informational item. Last meeting in January, we discussed the My Encinitas 311 app, and the links to take you to report a tree issue and an emergency. There was some concerns from the public that it was not easily attainable or accessible. So our IT department, essentially, we recreated the logo and changed it from roads to public right-of-way, included a road and some trees, which makes it a little bit more visually accessible to the public. You know, it's not just parks, but it's street trees. So,
Excellent. I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's really great.
All right. So with that, then we're going to skip B and C and then move on to 7A. Is that correct? Yes.
That's
All right.
correct.
Good evening. My name is Aoife Maxwell. I am with the Parks, Rec and Cultural Arts Department at the city, and I will be presenting on Arbor Day 2026. I'm assisting with Arbor Day, and during this presentation I will give a background on Arbor Day at the city, as well as present plans on 2026 event and go over ways that the members of the public and the UFAC committee can get involved. So firstly, background on Arbor Day. Arbor Day is an annual community-driven event that supports the city's long-standing designation as a Tree City USA by planting, caring for, and preserving local trees. This event is held in collaboration with the city's Urban Forest Advisory Committee and produced by the city's Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Arts Department. The event enhances the city's local oats legacy through educational, volunteer-led planting projects at local parks. So here's some goals with Arbor Day. There's 4 general goals. Firstly, with Tree City USA designation, Encinitas has held this prestigious designation for over a decade, recognizing its commitment to urban forestry, which requires an annual Arbor Day celebration. The city uses this day to meet sustainability goals, such as the Climate Action Plan Measure CS1, which has a goal of planting 100 trees per year. By planting dozens of native trees to enhance the local canopy, this event helps make progress towards this goal. With community participation, this event typically includes tree planting, an exhibitor expo with educational booths and activities for individuals and families. And then with partnerships, the event is supported by local partners like West Coast Arborists, I Love a Clean San Diego, and DUDAC, just to name a few. So with the 2026 event, this year's event is the 15th annual Arbor Day celebration. It will be held on Saturday, April 18th from 9 a.m. until noon at Hawkview Park near Indian Head Canyon and Saxony Road in Leucadia. This event celebration provides residents the opportunity to share a fun and educational experience while making a sustainable impact and contribution to Encinitas' growing urban forest. Residents are invited to join the city in planting dozens of trees, enjoying family-friendly activities, and engaging with educational booths. Tree planting volunteers will help plant a variety of native species that will increase biodiversity, increase shade, and provide a multitude of benefits to future generations visiting Hawkview Park. Here are some features and highlights at this year's event. So on the right, you can see some pictures of the park, as well as the site plan for the event. We are planning to have Troop 2000, a Boy Girl Scout, hosting a color guard and flag ceremony at the event, and then a dedication tree ceremony, as well as an exhibitor expo with crafts and activities hosted by the city for kids. We also will have a mulch giveaway courtesy of EDCO, a garden harvest donation station, which is supported homegrown hunger relief with local nonprofit Healthy Day partners, giveaways from the exhibitors at the event, treats, and more as well. So finally, here's some opportunities that the public could get involved with the event and the UFAC members. Firstly, you could participate in the event if you would like to plant some trees at the park, just like the guys that you can see on the right at last year's Arbor Day. To do this, you just go on our webpage for the event and you just click the button to register. Or you could help volunteer to set up the event with assisting with takedown and cleanup. And you can do this through the city's VIP, which is our Volunteer in Purpose program. And you would do that through the volunteer link. And then the UFAC members are more than welcome to help volunteers plant trees, as well as have an exhibitor booth at the event as well. So there's just a brief overview of the 2026 Arbor Day event. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Thank you.
I just want to say one small thing. Usually the UFAC also has a table at this event, and where we have some information that we give out and we talk to the public and things like that. In the past, I've been there the whole time, every time, and I have a conflict this year, so I'm hoping we can get somebody to volunteer for that job. Doesn't have to be now. We have a couple months to think about it.
Yeah, I usually try to come by for a little bit. It's a nice time to talk to the public. And Rob will have the same handouts we normally do, I assume. Yeah. Great. So to any of our new members that want to be there, that would be great as well. Awesome. Sweet. Okay, I think that's it for the update. Does anybody have any questions? Great.
I have a question. If I'm going to try to help, I'm sure all of us will try to help get the word out about the link for tree planting. But if someone comes to the event and they have not registered, can they still plant trees?
Yes, that's a great question. They can still show up on the day and just be sure to check in with our volunteer check-in booth so that they can sign our planting waiver, and they're more than welcome to participate.
Great. Does anybody have anything else? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Can I say one more thing? Am I allowed to make a suggestion for 2027?
It's your last chance.
Yeah, I'm going to be in the public soon. I would love to see a tree giveaway. I'm not sure if that's happened specifically for and at the Arbor Day celebration for the city of Encinitas, but it seems like a great opportunity to have. I'd actually love to see a hands-on educational program to go with it about, how to properly plant the tree and care for the tree, but I would love to see a giveaway.
Noted.
Thank you.
So we have had a giveaway in the past many years, and I think there's usually a planting demonstration at the beginning as well.
I mean, Tony does an amazing job of, I've attended some where he's like the best teacher in the world for planting a tree properly, and then he goes and helps other people. But I mean, maybe something a little more comprehensive as an interactive booth.
All right. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope you're going to remember that next year.
I'll do it.
All right, so now we'll go on to 7B, which is an update on the tree species list review. Let's see. So committee member Gurno and I have done some work here, and I had a conversation with Hanson on the phone where we've kind of discussed where this goes from here. I think we've talked a lot about creating a framework here, and I don't know if we talked about it specifically last month, but what Hanson and I talked about is really the importance of this being maintained in a way that's live and can be continuously updated by the city arborists and revisited perhaps yearly or every other year by UFAC to kind of see some of the changes and some of the issues that might need to be put into there, thinking about things like updates to the fire list and maybe new pest management issues that we're dealing with. There's going to be some things that are need to be revisited on a regular basis. So we can go to I guess my first question as we're going through this, Rob, is have you looked into our ability to kind of maintain this as a living document? Do you have any information there?
Yes, we have discussed that. There's multiple documents and manuals that need to be updated consistently, and this can just go into that package of annual review and updating. Because like we all know, the tree world is ever evolving. New regulations and standards are constantly coming out, and these will be updated along with like the Urban Forest Management Program and Admin Manual.
So, question about that is part of this making it easy to update. Is part of that sort of consolidating some of the various lists that are scattered around that the city has?
I think that's the main driving force behind this, is to consolidate it all into one list, so it is therefore much easier for the fire department, for development services, and parks and street maintenance to review these. Having one document, is a much easier task. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, I was going to suggest perhaps, and this will tie into maybe perhaps a bit of the website update conversation, that since you had that list you compiled of all the different things we need to get rid of, if you could, I don't know, Rob, if you already have that list handy, but if not, if you could make sure that Rob has your list of different things to basically remove. Great. And then I think some other thoughts I have on this are, I think the do not plant list is probably the most important part of it. And the recommended list is, as we talked about, Hanson, maybe a little dicier in some ways, because it's opening a larger can of worms. The do not plant list is pretty cut and dry because it's coming from the fire department, it's coming from an invasive species list, and it's coming from things that have known issues. Recommended is where we get a little more subjective. So I might, we talked about you having some more input on this, from this point forward. Do you want to just talk a little bit about how you're viewing this at the moment?
Sure, yeah. And I think part of this process too was just making sure that there was lists, because the list is serving multiple things. There's like our planting efforts as the city is its own list, and then this is a general list for the public to become more aware. So I think that's where really, it's a lot of information, and there might be a couple different lists still. I don't know if they'll be totally public facing, but the recommended one will be, those are trees that are like tried and true, do really well in our climate, have a good track record on establishment, not a lot of problems with infrastructure. And we will have to have another list that I was talking to Rob about as well, there will have to be some list that is approved tree species, because it's referenced to in a bunch of documents. So we will have to have something that's essentially approved or not approved, and then it'll make some of these trees on the larger list just kind of more informational based. So I think that will be the challenge still going forward, because this list serves so many different entities, we'll have to keep it general enough so that people can understand what are the problems about trees or just general information, but then also have it be specific enough to be useful in the public setting and for the city's use as well. So that when developers are coming along, they know that that tree is approved, not necessarily just kind of floating in the middle. So yeah, and I think, I appreciate the work that you guys have all done and kind of killing all these different lists and kind of culminating everything into one living document. And then as we go forward, the city arborist, kind of culling that list, adding new things, especially as we plant more natives or, things that are potentially experimental, to see how those are actually going to end up thriving in the city. So since trees take such a long time to get good data on, it has to be kind of an active living list.
Yeah, and I would say perhaps as we think about recommended lists, because there's so much talk about native trees right now, if we're going to, depending on which way you want to go, I think highlighting recommended native trees or try these native trees kinds of things is a good place to start if we're looking for something to move on quickly. But in terms of, I just want to make sure everyone kind of understands this concept of the framework we've created. We're passing it off to city arborists and staff now to kind of continue to move this forward. And as I said, I think even if we were to just post the do not plant list and recommended list as it stands right now, we're already making a huge improvement on the information that's out there. But is everyone comfortable with the kind of concept of moving forward with this as a framework for the moment?
It looks good to me, but we are only looking at the do not plant list, right? We don't have the approved list in front of us. There was no way.
There's
to
a
click on
couple, if you keep scrolling down, the do not plant list is pretty long, which is
it.
good.
And I love the key. The key is great.
Yes, thank you. There's, the recommended list is pretty short at the moment.
There it is. Got it.
And we got some input from Native Plants for Encinitas. Hanson went through in there and marked a couple. There's a few from the fire department's list. And that's one of those things that we'll be hopefully revisiting this year. So I think there's a lot of room to improve this, but I think that's best done by the city arborist and staff, and perhaps something that comes back for review as this changes significantly to kind of give us some updates on the changes you've made, get input from UFAC. Committee member Gurno, do you have anything you want to say?
Yeah, there's something that I hope is like a basic shared thing between our side and you guys, in that I think it would be ideal if this trends toward an existence where the recommended list for somebody who's from the public side would suffice as an approved tree list. Is that, we're not there now, but I think that the notion of having a recommended list that is not approved tree list causes some potential problematic disparity that we're trying to resolve. So I'm not trying to suggest that the current recommended list will legally fit the bill for what you guys need on that developer permitting side and all of that. But I would hope that as time goes on, those two things kind of trend toward coincidence, because that way the trees that are being recommended are known to be approvable. Does this make sense?
Yeah, I would think on the approved list, having a column of, this is more favorable, this is recommended, there's try this one first.
It would be everything that's on the approved, everything that's on the recommended list would obviously be on the approved list. It's just more of that layer of these are tried and true versus some of the new ones that we don't have good data on. So yeah, I think that can live within the same list, which I think will be really helpful. And I think that it would be good to maybe have an annual review, as we can just be okay, this year we've learned this about trees, or we've learned, we've talked to fire and these are a new tree that we're interested in, or maybe, the opposite way of we've worked with fire and this is now a plantable species, as long as it's all the other situations of the right tree, right place. So yeah, we could do an annual review, which, could be good to get at least once a year with UFAC and the public, and kind of address anything that needs to change with that list, at least, even if it's just informational. These trees got added, these trees got taken away, here's the thing, what are the comments from the public? So I think that, yeah, and then interested parties, we can kind of send out a little.
Yeah,
Sorry, I just have a question. I'm uncomfortable with this person, take lists. Can you say who you are and what you're doing? My name is Scott Chatfield, and I'm taking pictures.
okay, I've seen a lot of people.
Noise during a meeting, if you're snapping and stuff. Who are you? I'm the public trying to tune into the meeting, and you're. I'm so sorry, I'm distracting you. I'll be out of here in about 2 minutes.
Okay, I think I've seen a lot of people taking pictures in this room before. It's not bothering me. I think if he's going to be done soon, that's fine. Is everybody all right with Scott taking pictures? Great.
So I have a small comment. There's a recommended list and a disapproved list. Both of them have F in them. I assume that for the not recommended list, F means bad for fire, and for the recommended list, F means good for fire.
Yeah, it just means it's coming from the fire department.
Okay, I probably could be more clear what that F means.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I just want to come back to kind of what we're talking about with these yearly revisiting and the approved list, and within that approved list, the recommended designations. If we have this all centralized in that living document, and that's where all of these updates happen, then it's very easy to generate the sort it by recommended, sort it by do not plant, sort it by invasive, sort it by botanical name, all that stuff. So coming back to the original thing we talked about, if we have it centralized as a living document and all the updates happen there, everything else we're talking about generates from that place rather than having to update 7 different places. You know what I mean? Cool. All right. Is there anything else anyone would like to say about this item? Don't think we need to.
I mean, thank you for doing all this work. It's complicated.
Yeah, oh, and I did go through and I put in all the WUCL's numbers I could find. That was a fun couple of hours. Which also I will point out, because we haven't talked about it yet, WUCL's has a designation not appropriate for this region, which was actually pretty useful in generating some of the do not plant recommendations. So that's just one new layer that we added in here.
Yeah, I think that's really easy to understand. Looks great.
Cool. So we're now passing it on to you all. Have fun.
Correct. Again, thank you guys for your work, setting this framework for this document, and we will begin routing it with staff, and hopefully, like Hanson said, we'll get some sort of guidance whether this is going to be a council-approved document or if this just lives with us for the time being.
Great, thank you. Cool, so I think we're good with 7B. And then you said the informational items were getting moved to 7C or 7D?
7D.
Okay, great. So then we'll go on to 7C, which is an update from you, Rob.
Yes, so we had discussed last meeting, there were some issues brought up with the public specifically about being able to navigate the city's website page, unsure what link works, what link doesn't, where do they need to, what's the file path to plant a tree, to submit a tree removal request, et cetera. Most of it revolved around planting a tree. So we had a discussion with IT, and we are revamping the Urban Forest Management Program website to make it a little bit cleaner, a little bit more organized, easier to navigate. So, Melissa, do you know, didn't UB send us a link of what it looked like before?
It's actually on the city's website right now. So this is just the draft, what he's creating right now.
Okay.
Yeah, the old one's still up and live and all of that. This is just the draft.
Okay. So this is the draft right now. This is what it's going to look like. Essentially, as opposed to the paragraph form that it was before, with links kind of embedded within the paragraph, we're just outlining the different facets of the urban forestry program. What we do, why urban trees matter, and then you start getting into the meat and potatoes of what we're trying to do here, which is tree protection regulations and standards. You have the city's tree ordinance, urban forest management policy, links to the administrative manual. We do have a note down here, the administrative manual is currently under review. So this falls into our, our annual review of this manual to make sure that everything is still up to standard. Any edits need to be made, links, et cetera. Then you have here city tree removals, view information on pending and recent tree removals. And then here you have, let's see, the tree permits and property owner responsibilities. So here you can you can complete a city tree permit application, and through this link, you can fill out the application. It'll get mailed to city staff. We're also outlining here where residents who wish a pruning, we're trying to differentiate between something that needs immediate action and something that needs, review or follow-up from the city arborist, from Hanson. Immediate action, we'd like everyone to use the app, because that goes directly to Public Works Street Maintenance staff, which we can get a work order created. And then for emergencies or questions, there's an even more direct way to get a hold of us. And then we have, so here's where we start to differentiate between Public Works and land development. So you have your city tree permit application, plant a tree button, remove a tree button. These will take you to a form that you can fill out, which once you hit submit, it automatically sends it off to city staff. Street tree selection and planting. Again, this is in reference to the master tree species list. Pruning and maintenance schedules. We'll have active links here, our interactive tree map, and then followed up by our education and community outreach with different resources. And there's also a resource tab up here on the left in the front part here. No, not on this site, but it's on the actual site, though. There's a resources.
Yeah, I don't think it
Site.
shows, it's going to show on the draft website.
Yeah. But it's just a quick overview of the changes that we're making. Again, the old version, if you go onto the website that's live right now, it's just kind of just in paragraph form, and all the links are kind of embedded into the paragraph. So we kind of broke it out a little bit, organized it a little bit better, included some bullet points with the links and our new plant a tree and remove a tree buttons.
Great. Yeah, those in particular are a huge improvement in clarity. Is there any ideas or feedback anyone has at this point?
I might have a question, but it seems, and I just don't know if it's somewhere else and it's just as clear, but in the responsibilities of homeowners, it would be nice to have the heritage tree link to the forms for that application, unless I missed it.
That's good.
Noted.
All I would say is that not everybody wants to have a tree in front of their property, and so for the people that do, making it easy was that was the whole thing. And so this is a win, it looks like, as far as if somebody wants a tree, here's your button, push it, and you'll get a tree, because that's what we're after.
Yeah, I hope I wasn't complaining. I hope that didn't come across that way. I appreciate it. I think it looks like you were super responsive and did a great job making it clear.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I think it looks really nice now.
I do too. It is such a great improvement, especially just those two buttons alone makes it so clear as to what you can do. And I think the whole thing, it went by fairly quickly, but looks like a great improvement. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
really appreciate it. It's taken a while to get this kicked up to the right place, but we did, and now it's done, and it's looking good. Thank you. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Rob. Great. So kind of last chance to weigh in with any other ideas of things that we'd like to see on here. I think it's covering most of the things I can think of. Heritage tree is a great note. And then I guess a big asterisk around where this tree species list ends up and what, whether it's probably just do not plant, we could maybe get up there pretty soon, and then recommended maybe not long after. But I'll kind of leave that in your court to see how that flushes out.
I would maybe just, one more thing, sorry. Also, when it is approved, having a link to the mature tree preservation ordinance for people.
It's an optimistic take on its future. Appreciate that.
And while we're at it, why not have a link to current existing, recognized trees?
The heritage trees specifically?
Yeah, heritage trees, yeah.
Yeah, do we have a heritage tree specific page?
Yes, we do.
Oh, so that would be, yeah, maybe just a little heritage tree section with the application and a list of current heritage trees. Seems like it would be a good place.
Okay, we can talk to IT, maybe put some links on these page,
Right.
on this page. Yeah.
Great. Great. Does anyone else have any thoughts on this item? Cool. So now we can move into the 2025 work plan. Do we want to start with the informational items you mentioned on this one?
Yes, the first one will be the informational update from city staff on the parking lot shading proposal.
All right, this is very quick. We received the parking lot shading proposal. From here, it is now going to Development Services because it is an update to the Encinitas Municipal Code. This will fall under Development Services to see it through to council approval. So it is with them right now.
Excellent.
As I get updates from Development Services, I'll update the UFAC.
Great. And then have you talked to them specifically about this idea of solar panels? Because that was the one thing we had talked about that we felt wasn't really in our purview, but it was something that we thought should be part of the conversation.
I added it in my notes on
Great.
the Word document that I sent over.
Cool. So we'll see what they do with it. That's great. Thank you. And then, plant a tree button. I feel like we got that update. Excellent. So then we could now open up the 2025 work plan document here. So for number one, we just talked about the parking lot shading. I feel like as far as our task, we can mark that as completed because it's moved on. I mean, will we be required, other than maybe showing up and speaking if and when it makes it to council? I don't think it's going to come back across our desk here. Is that correct?
Probably not. It could come across in like a community workshop that, might be advantageous for you to attend, but I don't think it'll come back to UFAC at this point.
Great. Number two, species lists, we're good there. Request to plant a tree button, we just talked about that, we're good on that one. Identify necessary website updates and communicate them to the city staff. That has been done, pending per the update we just got. 5, conduct research to provide community education on the value of properly maintained trees. That is not completed and will certainly be, I think, the top priority for me for the next work plan we'll be talking about later. Hoping to get some new subcommittee members there. It's still showing Bishop on there, and we haven't had him for quite a while. And then number 6 is the recommendations on the draft mature tree ordinance, and that one is complete as well. So it's really just number 5 we're looking at, which I'm looking forward to putting at the top of our list for this next work plan. Does anyone have any questions on this 2025 work plan? Great, then let's move on to 2026. And so I'll ask Rob in a minute to this is only the second time we've done a work plan, so if you can kind of remind us the process here of how we get things on there and get it approved, whether it's we kind of talk about it this meeting and then next meeting we vote on it. And then while we're doing that, for our new committee members, if you guys have any ideas for things you'd like to add to our next work plan. Oh, we got some, great.
We have speaker slip for item D, UFAC work plan, Steve.
Steve, great.
Albeck.
And while Steve's talking, if either of you two have any ideas you'd like to add to the work plan, we'd be welcome to hear them.
And members of the committee, I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Steve Hobeck, and I was granted the honor to serve on UFAC, and I'm very excited. And I was hoping to just get to know people, and perhaps afterwards I could get a little bit of information about who I'm going to be replacing, because I think it's like a temporary slot, but I'm not sure. I'm here to learn, so I enjoyed listening to everybody. And I did have a question on the heritage tree, and perhaps you could discuss that. I live in your neck of the woods, Brad. I live in Hain. And I have an oak tree in my backyard that I think is about 200 years old. And I wanted to get it designated as a heritage tree. I mean, if you're into the Lord of the Rings and stuff like that, it's kind of like the Shire party tree. That's what it's beautiful. And I really want to make sure it's protected just in the event something should happen. Someone buys my house and they want to cut it down, because that would just be a sin against God. So other than that, Steve Hobeck, and it's nice to meet everybody, and I hope to get to know you better.
All right, thanks, Steve. That does remind me of an item I was going to bring up for this work plan. Is that it for public comment, Melissa?
That is it?
Great. So while we're talking about it, I was going to bring up the idea on the work plan, and I'm curious, specifically Committee Member Gurna, what you might say about this. Currently, when we look at heritage trees, we have our 4 or 5 criteria of how to approve them, but we don't have any criteria on which to deny them necessarily. I'm specifically thinking we've seen a few come in now where it seems more inspired by a neighborly dispute than it does out of particular respect for the tree. So that would be an example of something where maybe we could talk about adding some criteria by which to deny an application. Does anyone have any thoughts on that for the work plan?
Quick thought. I'm not sure that's necessary. I mean, if you had a list of all the things that don't qualify as a heritage tree, it would be very long. I don't know. I mean, are you thinking about saying, maybe for the purpose, saying this is not for settling disputes with your neighbors? I don't know. I think the existing wording is pretty straightforward. I mean, if it doesn't meet any of the criteria, it's not going to be a heritage tree.
I feel like there's been some where they kind of technically meet the significant landmark in the neighborhood, or there's just a few that we looked at this last year where I wasn't really buying it, but we don't have a way to necessarily, I mean, yeah, you're right. If it doesn't meet one of those any of those criteria, we can deny it. But I was really specifically thinking about that kind of, there was 2, I think, that came in that were really pretty obviously inspired by being a dispute between neighbors. And I don't know, I thought that might be worth talking about.
Well, there's some subjective judgment involved, especially in outstanding characteristic of the neighborhood. But I don't know, without turning it into a, terms of service legal agreement, I think, I guess my first thought is it's probably not necessary.
Yeah, that's probably funny to hear me say, but I think that I've voted against more heritage trees than maybe anybody else. And so I don't mind doing that, but maybe that's just my own disposition. So there does need to be a clear process, which I'm not totally sure is where we're at. And I would kind of be more on the side of having a better understanding of what the pro side looks like than striking down specific things. So like the landmark kind of neighborhood character type of stuff, that's pretty vague. And it does get to be like, a body of 5 people basically providing their opinion in collection. But so I'm not opposed to reviewing the way that this operates, because it seems like there's maybe a little bit of tweaking that could be done, but I'm not sold yet on that these things can't come before us. Is that fair?
I was going to basically say the same thing. Maybe it's just more about a definition, a clearer definition of some of the language.
When was the last time, it wasn't that long ago that you all came up with the original guidelines, is that right?
I wasn't involved with the original Heritage Tree Ordinance. It was the Heritage Grove amendment, kind of, and that was when I was originally on the committee with Mark and Brian, so it would have been a few years back.
And then that means that these bullet points we used to evaluate them were prior to that. Got it.
So
The other thing is that the Heritage Tree Program, I think, is based in the Municipal Tree Ordinance 1502, Chapter 1502. So that gives the criteria, but it doesn't indicate really what the process is, because as I understand it, the application comes to UFAC first, then it goes to the Planning Commission, then it goes to City Council. That process isn't included in the actual ordinance. And the other thing that could be done is, in addition to perhaps creating more of a process, is putting in language about discretion, and that the City Council has discretion. Even if something hits all the criteria, you still have discretion. So that would be an idea to revamp the language a little bit.
Well, it certainly sounds like there's maybe room to add a review of the heritage tree process to the work plan.
So I didn't mean to discourage a review of it. I'm fully in favor of that. And just a historical note, the Heritage Tree Ordinance preceded UFAC. So that was there in place before UFAC formed.
Great. And then before we get too far down the road here, Rob, this is only the second time we've done this. So in terms of, do we kind of give a list of items we want for the work plan now, review it next month for approval, or what's the process to get to our next work plan here?
My guidance in that would be to create a subcommittee. Then you can develop your work plan and then bring it back next month, and then we can discuss it in hopes to either bring it to council in May, at the latest June, because May 2025 is when the last one was approved. So targeting May, so that would give us March. Then any edits or anything that we need to make after next meeting, we can come back on in April and hopefully get it in front of council in May. But again, it's kind of it's up to you as the committee to decide what would best serve your time here, and then we let council make the decision on whether they would like that to be the approved work plan going forward for the next year.
Okay, considering we're going to have 3 new members next month, I'm trying to think of a way we can make room for their input while not delaying this unnecessarily. So we could do a subcommittee that takes some of the suggestions from tonight and brings them to our meeting next month. And our new members could bring their ideas to that meeting as well. And we could hopefully just hammer it out next month. But then we'd still technically have April to bring it back again if we needed to. Does that make sense?
Well, one thing that we could do, if we do form a subcommittee like Rob suggested, which I think is a good idea, is we can send out the subcommittee's proposal prior to the meeting, so the new members will have a chance to look at it and think about it and bring their thoughts. So we may very well be able to hammer it out and approve it in March. You know?
Yeah, that'd be great. There's only 3 of us here who will continue to be here. So I'd certainly entertain anyone that wants to volunteer for this subcommittee.
Sure, why not?
I definitely have some ideas to kind of chip into that. Should we do that?
Let's. How
live,
about
or-
committee member Jenny and I can be the subcommittee on that, because I feel like that's appropriate for my role as chair. And then everyone just put their ideas on the table right now, and then we'll take that back and bring something next month. So do you want to kick us off with any ideas you have there, Tony?
Yes, well, I would like to kind of like second or echo your mention of that one item from the 2025 work plan. I think that's going to be something that only grows in significance. And something that, this is kind of me channeling Mark Wisniewski, who's not here tonight, but I think he'll be happy to hear that I've mentioned this at least, which is I think that it would be worth us reviewing the advantages and the disadvantages of prescriptive pruning compared to grid pruning, because there are tree health implications, city budget implications. The entire industry at the moment is working to move towards more of a prescriptive standard, which is totally at odds with the way that our city currently approaches the management of our public trees. And it may prove that there's some kind of opportunity for the discussion that was forward-looking about a potential staff urban forest person. That actually may change the dynamic of what is appropriate and reasonable for our city to do in terms of tree management. Another thing that I would like to do is to kind of like almost scratch out the last bullet point on the slide in front of us, this pruning protocols during avian nesting season. I think that it would be worth us talking about the prospect of actually doing like an educational seminar series, which kind of plays off of what Mim was talking about earlier. It's a little bit outside of our sort of wheelhouse, but we know trees, and so maybe there's a way that we could like work with parks teams and make something out of that. These are just food for thought.
Are you thinking like videos or handouts or whatever?
Well, I think that it would be really nice for our interested public to actually get a bit of a deeper dive into how they can take care of their own trees. And so something like any of our Earth Day style events, you know, or Arbor Day would be the kind of prime venue in my mind to do something where it's not only a planting demo and here's like the basic protocols of how to not kill a tree right away, but actually talking about, you know, as time goes on, you'll need to do some of this, and talking a little bit about things like mulching and care after the planting. So I don't know how that would manifest best on the program kind of organization side, but what I notice is that there's a bit of a hunger, and I don't know who else is going to do it. So kind of playing off of the city of San Diego's like tree stewards notion a bit.
Great, thank you. Do you have anything else you want to put on the table, Tony?
No, not at the moment. I'm sure I'll have more wild ideas.
Great. Linda, do you have anything that you'd want to bring?
Yes, one thing I think that the committee should look at, and Rob mentioned that I guess city staff is looking at the update to the administrative manual, but the ordinance also provides that UFAC should be reviewing that. It actually says twice a year, and I think it's supposed to mean every 2 years. And I know it hasn't been done in that period of time, so that's something that should be done. If the city council decides to adopt the mature tree protection ordinance, that points to the administrative manual, and there's parts of it that need to be updated for that reason. But even if city council doesn't do it, there are things in the manual that need to be updated. I went through the whole thing when I was working on mature tree, and I flagged various things that need to be addressed that I can pass along. But so one thing is a kind of a bigger review if the mature tree preservation ordinance is passed, and a smaller review to update if it is not.
Okay, great.
I have a weird question. So can subcommittee members be from the general public?
I wish the answer was yes. I believe it is no.
Is it no?
I'd have to ask the clerk, but I don't think so.
Because I was going to offer, because it is my last meeting, that I would love to still be involved in helping with community outreach and education, just helping make that happen as best as possible, but I don't, if that's possible.
I think there'll be lots of opportunities for you to stay involved, or, Linda, if there's an agenda item where you want to submit one of your reports, I'm sure we'd love to see it. And then in terms of volunteering, I think there'll be plenty of opportunities to stay involved and don't necessarily need a subcommittee position. Could you pull up the...
Just real
yeah,
quick,
sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, just to answer the question, the answer is no. It has to be one of the UFAC.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Could you pull up the website we were looking at again, please? So I was just looking at this and kind of wanted to go through some of these kind of 6, I don't know, call this our charter, to think about the work plan as well. So number 1 is review and provide comments on tree plans prior to consideration by the city council. That is not something that I've seen us do since I've been here. Has anyone else recalled us participating in that process?
I didn't either, but I don't know what has come through. It'd be like streetscape level stuff, right?
Mr. Jenny, do you have any thoughts there?
Yeah, we do review sometimes the things that the city's going to do. For example, the Leucadia streetscape stuff, we reviewed that multiple times and gave comments. We don't review private development plans.
All right, so I guess we haven't had a streetscape come through in a while, so that would explain that. Review and provide comments on the approved tree species master list. We've done that and are now talking about a framework to continue to do that, so that's great. Review and provide comments to the city arborist on proposed city tree removals, except in the case of emergency removals. So I kind of talked to Hanson about this, and I think it's worth considering having a standing update at every meeting on, we have through the website there, you can access to see what trees have been removed. And I think there could be value in perhaps a standing informational item of these are the trees that we took out and these are the reasons why, so we can maybe be aware of any trends over time, whether there's a new pest that's creating problems, or to just kind of make it a more public process. I know that might be not the most welcome idea, but I do think there's some value in doing that. Does anybody have any thoughts on that? Hanson, do you want to share kind of your side of the story on that?
Yeah, I think it'd be fine to share an update. It just depends on how much work is generated from like updating. If it's like pictures and stuff, sometimes there's a lot of trees that are removed for random reasons. Well, I mean, a lot of our trees are really small trees that just don't establish very well or are vandalized, but anything that comes through. So yeah, we could give an update. I guess the hard part is just when the timing would be, because there's a long stretch from when a tree is marked out to be removed to the time it's actually removed. So it would have to be like, within this month, I submitted these to the contractor to be removed, not like they have already been removed. So they'll kind of all fall within like a varying degree of like, these are already gone, or these are proposed to be gone. So as long as that understanding was there, yeah, I think that it wouldn't be that hard of a pull to provide that data. And I think it's an interesting point to track like maybe why, just to have that metric. I mean, if there was enough time in the day to track the reason every tree fell in a storm, or every, if that body of data was robust, it would be insightful for sure. So yeah, I think that could be helpful.
Yeah, and to be clear, I'm not suggesting that you generate anything new for this. I feel like you have documentation of the things you do, so just kind of a report back, whether it's you or Rob, just an update on the things that are already documented or in process. Not suggesting additional pictures or things like that. I think that would be of value for us as we're going to revisit things like the species list and recommended list and do not plant list. We might be able to connect some dots between, we heard about this many of this type of tree that were removed, over the last few months. That might be good for us to hear.
Yeah, the only other alternative would be if we did kind of review it once at the end of the year. If we found that every meeting was just too much, but we could review. I mean, I do think that that is an important thing to go with the species list as well, of being like, okay, we lost 75 of the same species of tree. Like, obviously, we need to do something else there. It's not a good species, and then we can address it in like a holistic way. So sometimes it is helpful to do these annual checks to understand if there is, trends that should be dealt with in a specific way. So I think it could be helpful. We could try the monthly and go to yearly if we find it too much, and maybe Rob has some.
I like, this is one of the things that I kind of know too much about a little bit. It's like seeing the sausage be made sometimes. And I have a near-term concern with us taking this public in this venue, which is that it could conceivably, mistakenly, and like I'm saying, in the short term, kind of make the city arborist look like a tree killer. But the thing is that in a lot of cities, the city arborist is that. And in a lot of cases, the position exists as like a kind of a legal way to cover yourself while still removing trees. So it's a professionally justified way to continue to remove trees in a lot of cities. And that's not what we're trying to have in this city. And so over time, the pressures that actually come to the professional in the position that Hanson is currently in, and I mean this with no disrespect at all, no shade your way at all, Hanson. I think that he's doing a great job, and he cares, and I think that he would probably agree with some of what I'm saying at least. But we don't want the city arborist to be yes, I have the certification to give this a green stamp and have that be what it is. And so having these things come before public sunlight, I think this is where I said that I want us to do more work, is basically exactly this point. So I would support it, but I think that we have to kind of be delicate about the way that this is put to everybody.
Maybe we pair the removal report with a planting report as well. Well, I think it's worth putting some thought into and having a subcommittee, bounce this back, and you guys can think about what that may look like, and we can discuss it further next month.
If I could jump in real quick.
Yeah.
I was going to jump in after Hanson, but Tony kind of said what I was going to say, is that, we do have to make certain decisions on trees that are not always going to be liked by the public, right? There's liability, there's risk decisions that have to be made. And I don't know if we have the time or effort to publicly justify every decision that we make. So maybe there is some sort of balance that we can, like you said, either annually or quarterly, but we do have the ability to categorize why these trees were removed. So maybe that's a part of it, is instead of saying we removed 35 trees and then go through each and every one of them, why we made this decision, maybe we just have a pie chart and it says we removed 35 trees, 21 of them were from infrastructure damage, 10 were from disease, pests, something like that, and then that's our report. So it's something, that maybe we can discuss, and Hanson and I will look at.
Yeah, I think there might be one or two that we'd want to dive into, but I think, if the decisions are defensible, they're defensible. So if we present them with the reasons they were removed and those reasons are defensible, my thought is that, that is valuable public information for people to be aware of those decisions that are being made. That's, and it's also there in our bullet points, right? So I feel like it either needs to happen or we need to look at these 6 bullet points and maybe update them.
So question for Rob. Obviously, if there are 1,000 trees removed every month, it's going to overwhelm the committee. If there's 1 tree removed every month, it's easy to do. What kind of numbers are we looking at?
Yeah, that's my point. Is like every tree is, we don't go around and just remove trees because we want to, right? There's a reason it's defensible. But like we only have 2 hours, right? I don't know. It really varies. I mean, this month, for some reason, it seems like we've had quite a few. But what would you say the average is?
I don't know, probably a couple hundred, maybe 200 last year.
A year, yeah.
Oh, per year.
Per year, yeah. Yeah, per year, yeah.
Per week, no.
Can I just make a simple suggestion that it's called something like the Tree Canopy Health and Safety Report? So it's really all-inclusive, and that's how it's front-facing to the public.
So I really like actually Rob's idea of getting the informational part out of it, but without diving into every single tree. I mean, if we say 80% of stuff gets removed because of pests, you know, that's good information. And this kind of species is dying at a faster rate. That's good information. Whether the tree 3 blocks down from my house, what exactly happened to that, I don't know. I could probably call you guys if I was really interested, but I don't see any reason to go through, you know, a dozen trees every meeting. What happened to them?
Yeah, that's fine. I think we're hitting on a pretty reasonable compromise here with some value. So other than that, again, agreeing with Committee Member Gurno that the whole fire discussion is absolutely number one priority for me, and I think is going to be really interesting and valuable. Other than those, I don't have anything else to add to the list. Do Mark, Jenny, do you have anything you want to throw on this? All right, I think we got some ideas there to put together as a subcommittee, and then our new committee members can bring any of their ideas to the next meeting. Is there anything else we need to talk about for that item? Great. And I think that also is kind of item 7F here as well, identify agenda items for future UFAC meetings. So I don't think we have anything to add there.
I just wanted to remind the committee, typically in March, you guys have the, you guys vote for your new chair and vice chair, so you guys might want to add that for next meeting.
Great, yes, that's correct. Thank you for the reminder. I have certainly enjoyed serving as chair, and I'm happy to continue to do so, but I would also encourage anyone that wants to step up for the position to make it known at the next meeting. And I'm happy to pass on those duties if anyone else is eager for the opportunity to help steer the committee. So we can talk about that at the next meeting as well. You said we'll vote on that next. Yeah, okay, great.
I think I made a suggestion last month of adding an agenda item. I don't even know how to phrase it. Just making sure that UFAC is very much available to the public. So some sort of community outreach, some sort of education program. I combine community outreach and education in my head. So yeah, I would love to see, I know I'm not going to be here, but I would love to see you discuss that more.
I have a suggestion for next meeting, and that is you'll have new members coming in. And I know you have a training coming up as well between now and the next meeting that the city's going to put on. But I think it would be helpful to the new members to just go over very quickly the different documents that govern UFAC. You know, like I mentioned, the ordinance, and then there's the administrative manual, and there's the this and the that, so that the new members know what these documents are. They can study them carefully and just get some idea of where these different things come from. For example, the website that you were mentioning, those 6 things, that comes from the, you know, the ordinance. So those are the things that the, you know, UFAC has to take a look at or be involved in.
That's a great idea, some kind of orientation.
I believe, Melissa, refresh our memories. You send out an email with links to a bunch of things, right?
Yeah.
Great. So maybe just make sure we all see that. Maybe just send it to everybody so we're all aware of what they received and what they didn't receive, and we can go through some of that at the next meeting as well. But all right, well, as we come to a close here, I do
Brad.
have to, yeah.
Can I jump in real quick? We need to go back to 7E because it is an action item. So a committee needs to be formed tonight
Okay.
and voted on.
Okay, great. So I will make a motion that subcommittee for 7E is myself and committee member Jenny.
I'll second that.
Thank you for the reminder, Rob. Great, so that subcommittee is approved unanimously.
Wait a minute. So the, I didn't read it, I just clicked yay, but it looked like it said, for the motion, it said receive a report. Can we look back at what the motion actually was?
Receive oral report from city staff committee to form a 2026 subcommittee and discuss potential work plan items.
Okay, fair enough.
Great, I think we have that documented correctly. All right, well, I would like, yeah, I want to say thank you to Mim and to Linda for the work you've done. It's been a pleasure to serve with you. I'm going to miss you. But yeah, if you want to say any closing remarks in your last EFAC meeting, the floor is yours.
I didn't prepare anything, but yes, it has been a pleasure and an honor to be part of this committee and work alongside all of you and also the missing members and staff. Staff has been amazing. So for me, the most fun has been watching the collaboration. I think it's an excellent collaboration. They're very responsive staff and the committee working so well together. And I'm glad I got to speak for some fruit trees and stand up for helping end hunger and feeding our neighbors as well as wildlife and making sure we have a healthy tree canopy. So thank you for letting me be part of those conversations.
I agree completely with Mim. This has been such a great experience working on, number one, on a committee and really learning more about how the city works and how the public is involved in making city decisions. So that has been a great educational experience. Secondly, it's been great learning more about our urban canopy and trees in general and the way things, go together. Working with city staff as well as all of these really talented, knowledgeable people has been awesome. Mark, I take my hat off to you. I know you've been involved in urban forestry and in UFAC particularly for a very long time and have been a real backbone for the committee. So I sure commend you for all you've given to it. Tony, being one of the very original members of UFAC when it was first developed, and all of the work that you've done, not just in this committee and this round, but also for the city as the city arborist. And he's an amazing resource. You guys are going to be blown away when you work with these guys. And Brad, your leadership has been awesome. You have really, I think, elevated the level of this committee, and it has really been a pleasure working with you. And Melissa, you've been great to work with. You're just so amazing, getting things so well organized and right every time and just keeping us on task. It's been great. And Hanson and Rob, it's been great working with you too, and other city staff members that, we've had the pleasure of having come before our committee and helping us to learn more about what's going on in the city and collaborating. So I just want to thank everybody and thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you both so much. Couldn't appreciate you more. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully we'll see you standing over there every once in a while. Please do come back. Please don't forget about us. We'd love your input.
I would like to especially echo one thing that Linda said. Brad is so much better than the last guy.
I didn't say that.
I mean, I would add to that too. I mean, Brad, you are you're getting, procedures in place, you're clarifying, you're setting standards that weren't there before and just helping. I think the word elevate was perfect, Linda. And Linda, you have been incredible with the mature tree preservation ordinance. Your expertise, I'm sure everybody would agree, has been invaluable. So thank you.
Well, I'd agree with all that. It's been a team effort, and I appreciate you all. And we'll miss you.
Thank you.
All right. With that, we'll adjourn for the night. Thank you.